Today, Haunted Earth visits the abandoned ruins of a medieval church. This 13th century church was originally partly constructed from Roman tile and brick, allegedly removed from an abandoned Roman villa nearby. The church survived the Reformation and time, and although some distance from the village, the building remained at the heart of the community until 1971, when it's said that on Halloween a mysterious fire burnt it down. Due to the extensive damage, the church was never rebuilt, and instead a modern church was built within the village itself. On arrival on site, a strong breeze blew up, and having travelled some distance to the church, I decided to continue with the investigation despite the risk to audio reception. What struck me immediately was the popularity the site enjoyed with the local villagers. There were families, retired people, and of course horse riders and dogs passing by. The church grounds appeared more as a leisure facility than as an interment area for the dead. Despite these prevailing difficulties, I soldiered on with the investigation, despite some strange glares at me as I spoke around the gravesites. But, as any paranormal investigator will realise, there is nothing stranger than strangers, and particularly some other paranormal investigators.
I came down here about 3 years ago, late at night, and I must admit, it was like joining a group of people on a tube station. There were so many people thronging around on the site that it was virtually impossible to capture any activity whatsoever. I would have estimated probably around 30 people at one point were actually walking around this churchyard, which kind of defeats the whole point of the exercise. So I've come down here today to look at this fine medieval ruin, which I believe dates back to the 13th century, in the hope that I might capture some EVP or perhaps some other type of anomaly.
Before moving out into the main burial areas, I was drawn by what I perceived to be the spirit of an 18th century clergyman or priest, who I felt very strongly to be active around the altar area inside the ruins. He was aged around 70 and wore a ridiculously large tricorn hat over a very narrow head on a frail and aged body. Despite attempts to draw out this spiritual presence, he was having nothing of it. But for me, the altar floor was the core spiritually active area of this site.
It's very, very strong here. As I move forward onto the altar steps, seems weaker here, but much stronger here.
After remaining inside the church for some minutes, I decided then to move out of the building and into the churchyard. Looking back at this ruin, it reminded me very strongly of those old-fashioned engraving prints that depicted in a very beautiful manner a somewhat romantic view of the church.
John Cross, he died in 1857. Is there anything that you wish to say? I've come in peace, and I mean you no offence, to give you the opportunity of saying something beyond the grave. Please don't be shy or afraid. I mean you no harm or disrespect.
I then slowly made my way around the cemetery, calling at various graves in the hope that those in spirit might speak to me, and hopefully give further proof of an existence beyond this mortal coil we call life. These are my recordings of the day.
I'm at the grave of Robert Bray, died 1724. So typical of the period, the crossbones on the tombstone. Is there anything that you wish to say? I come in peace and I mean you no offence. Quite a strong energy here. At the grave of Matthew Henry Barton, come in peace and respect, I mean you no offence. I wondered if there's anything you wish to say, any statement you would like to make.
My last grave visit of the day was that of the dual graves of the Wright family. This was quite an interesting capture.
Standing out of the wind slightly, I'm at the grave of Henry Wright and Henry Wright, presumably father and son. Come in peace, is there anything that you would wish to say? I mean you no disrespect.
By now light was starting to fade, and so reluctantly I decided to end my visit by returning once more to the church to summarise the day's events of the investigation.
It's been an interesting investigation. I was hampered by two major factors, one being the number of people walking around today with their dogs or with their friends or family, and of course the wind. There's a very strong gust of wind blowing through the ruins and across the churchyard, so it's anybody's guess as to what type of EVP I might capture, or perhaps some other type of anomaly. Anyway, thank you for sharing this journey with me, and I'll see you next time.